Galileo Galilei was an Italian astronomer, physicist, engineer, philosopher, and mathematician who played a major role in the scientific revolution during the Renaissance. Galileo has been called the father of observational astronomy, the father of modern physics, and the father of science. His contributions to observational astronomy include the telescopic confirmation of the phases of Venus, the discovery of the 4 largest satellites of Jupiter, and the observation and analysis of sunspots. Galileo also worked in applied science and technology, inventing an improved military compass and other instruments. Galileo's championing of heliocentrism and Copernicanism was controversial within his lifetime, when most subscribed to either geocentrism or the Tychonic system. He met with opposition from astronomers, who doubted heliocentrism due to the absence of an observed stellar parallax. The matter was investigated by the Roman Inquisition in 1615, and they concluded that it could only be supported as a possibility, not as an established fact. Galileo later defended his views in dialogue concerning the 2 chief world systems, which appeared to attack Pope Urban VIII and thus alienated him and the Jesuits, who had both supported Galileo up until this point. He was tried by the Inquisition, found vehemently suspect of heresy, forced to recant, and spent the rest of his life under house arrest. It was while Galileo was under house arrest that he wrote one of his finest works, 2 New Sciences. Here he summarized the work he had done some 40 years earlier, on the 2 sciences now called kinematics and strength of materials. Early life and family. Galileo was born in Pisa, Italy, in 1564, the first of 6 children of Vincenzo Galilei, a famous lutenist, composer, and music theorist, and Giulia Ammannati. Galileo became an accomplished lutenist himself and would have learned early from his father a skepticism for established authority, the value of well-measured or quantified experimentation, an appreciation for a periodic or musical measure of time or rhythm, as well as the results expected from a combination of mathematics and experiment. 3 of Galileo's 5 siblings survived infancy. Michelangelo was unable to contribute his fair share of their father's promised dowries to their brothers-in-law, who would later attempt to seek legal remedies for payments due. Michelangelo would also occasionally have to borrow funds from Galileo to support his musical endeavors and excursions. These financial burdens may have contributed to Galileo's early fire to develop inventions that would bring him additional income. When Galileo Galilei was 8, his family moved to Florence, but he was left with Jacopo Bigini for 2 years. He then was educated in the Camaldolese monastery at Vallombrosa, 35 kilometers southeast of Florence. The surname Galilei derives from the given name of an ancestor, Galileo Bonaiuta, a physician, university teacher and politician who lived in Florence from 1370 to 1450. His descendants had changed their family name from Bonaiuta to Galilei in his honor in the late 14th century. Galileo Bonaiuta was buried in the same church, the Basilica of Santa Croce in Florence, where about 200 years later his more famous descendant Galileo Galilei was also buried. It was common for mid-16th century Tuscan families to name the eldest son after the parent's surname, hence, Galileo Galilei was not necessarily named after his ancestor Galileo Bonaiuta. The Italian male given name of Galileo derives from the Latin Galileus, meaning of Galilee, a biblically significant region in northern Israel. The biblical roots of Galileo's name and surname were to become the subject of a famous pun. In 1614, during the Galileo affair, one of Galileo's opponents, the Dominican priest Tommaso Caccini, delivered against Galileo a controversial and influential sermon. In it he made a point of quoting Acts chapter 1 verse 11, "Ye men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up in heaven?" Children. Despite being a genuinely pious Roman Catholic, Galileo fathered 3 children out of wedlock with Marina Gamba. They had two daughters, Virginia in 1600 and Livia in 1601, and one son, Vincenzo, in 1606. Because of their illegitimate birth, their father considered the girls unmarriageable, if not posing problems of prohibitively expensive support or dowries, which would have been similar to Galileo's previous extensive financial problems with two of his sisters. Their only worthy alternative was the religious life. Both girls were accepted by the convent of San Matteo in Arcetri and remained there for the rest of their lives. Virginia took the name Maria Celeste upon entering the convent. She died on the 2nd of April 1634, and is buried with Galileo at the Basilica of Santa Croce, Florence. Livia took the name Sister Arcangela and was ill for most of her life. Vincenzo was later legitimized as the legal heir of Galileo and married Cecilia Boccinari.